UFC 312 went down 48 hours ago on Saturday night, and I have to say, Dricus looked great, but I was absolutely disappointed with Sean Strickland's performance. Before we get into it, guys, please like, comment, and subscribe for me, and let's get into this UFC 312 breakdown. Okay, so first things first, UFC 312 main event, Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland 2. This was a fight that a lot of people were kind of upset that the UFC was making because they did not see a reason for Sean Strickland getting a rematch. He never defended his belt. Yes, the first fight was close, but that does not necessarily mean you get an instant rematch. And after Saturday night, those people look like they were right because Sean Strickland performed horribly in this fight compared to the first one. Two judges, I believe, had it 50-45, one 49-46. So one judge gave a round to Sean. And I'll be honest, guys, throughout this whole fight, I was waiting for Sean to get started. And Sean does have a difficult style that is not overly offensive. So I was kind of like, I was really trying to focus on the fight and not be distracted and find what Sean was doing. But I came to realize it wasn't just me. Like, I wasn't not seeing the vision and what he was doing. He was not doing shit. He threw about half the amount of strikes in the second fight than he did in the first one. The first one he threw over 400, and this one he threw a little over 200. All the things that I thought Sean could do adjustment wise to do better in this fight, he did none of them, and he actually did less than what he did in the first fight. Whereas Dricus did what he did in the first fight, but just more of it. He was more active. He didn't mix it up quite as much. I think he only shot for one takedown, but on the feet, the guy did more. He mixed it up more, threw more kicks. That was the real adjustment that Dricus made. He mixed up the kicks a lot more. That's what you do in a championship fight. At that level, it takes very tiny adjustments to really improve your performance. It's not about significant adjustments. At the championship level, it's little details. And that's what Dricus did. Whereas Sean, it seemed like he took 10 steps backwards in his performance. And make no mistake, Eric Nixick in the corner was going off on Sean, telling him, dude, you have to be more fucking active. You're going to lose this fight. You're not doing the things that you need to be doing to win this fight. Going into that fifth round, he really made that a point. And in between every round, he was honest with Sean, telling him, you need to do more. You are letting this fight slip through your hands. You have to wonder, Sean did have that clearly staph infection on his arm. How old it was, we don't know. How recently he was on antibiotics, we don't know. But not to bail Sean out, I will say I think he looked flat compared to the first fight. Not just his performance, but his body in general. He didn't look as toned. He just looked like he had a little less muscle mass. And then the performance was obviously super flat. So it does make me wonder how recent that staph infection was and how much it did affect him. If his training was not up to par because of that, if his cardio wasn't up to par and that's why his volume was lower, all those things may have played a factor. But at the end of the day, he got whooped for 5 rounds. It was very disappointing to me. Sean is like one of those guys where, now he did have his run. He had his, that 3-fight stretch, including the Izzy fight. And even the first Dricus fight was very good, and you thought he would do better in the second one. But it's like Jorge Masvidal syndrome to me, where Jorge throughout his whole career was always so talented, and you were like, dude, this guy has so many tools. Why is he always losing these close decisions? And it's just not enough activity. And you look at the guy and you're like, dude, you're so talented. Just throw more and you're going to win these fights. And they just didn't do it. Obviously, eventually, Jorge had his moment and his run where he put everything together later in his career. And I guess that was Sean's run, the Izzy fight. He is only 33, so there's still a little bit of time for him. But I don't see Sean holding that belt again. He'll get more wins and he'll be in the mix, but he's not winning that belt for whatever reason. When he gets to, this moment, he just doesn't do enough. And it's an MMA fight. You're not awarded for your defense like in boxing. Even in one championship, they award guys stuffing takedowns that scores points. It's the UFC and it's MMA. You're not awarded for your defense, and he has way too much of a defense oriented style. It's great. You don't get hit much. It's awesome. But you don't land enough, dude. You just don't land enough and you don't throw enough. And in this fight, he made a whole thing about how in the first fight that headbutt caused the gash and the blood really distracted him, and from then on out he couldn't see, and Dricus did better in those rounds when Sean got cut with the headbutt. Well, in the second fight, Dricus broke your nose fair and square with a big right hand right on the nose. Blood everywhere. Yes, that may have distracted you, but Dricus did that to you. And you just didn't do enough. So I really don't want to hear Sean come out and, make any real excuses. He hasn't as of yet, but just so disappointing, that performance. But we do have a big fight to look forward to now. Dricus in the interview with Joe. No, not with Joe, wasn't there. Who interviewed him? DC. With DC, he was looking at Alex. That's not the next fight. The next fight is DDP versus Khamzat Chimaev. That fight will be chaos. And though on paper, everyone probably leans Khamzat because he seems invincible, Dricus somehow finds a way to win all of these fights, and we have to start realizing Dricus is actually a very good fighter. Visually, it's not pretty, and it's ugly, and it's chaotic, but it works, and he has a knack for winning. He has that clutch gene where he finds ways to win. And that against Khamzat is going to be awesome. And we've seen with Khamzat, if you can get out of that first round, it's a bit of a different fight. When he fought Gilbert Burns, when he fought Kamaru Usman, I don't think that those were, flukes. I think Khamzat is a different guy if you can escape that first round, because he puts 110% into finishing you in the first round. So that fight is going to be awesome. We've been waiting for Khamzat to get to this level and finally get a title shot through all the health issues, through all the, political issues seemingly of him not being able to get into the country. We're finally here. We're going to get DDP versus Khamzat. Probably not until October. So we're going to have to wait a little bit, but Dricus is the guy right now. He's really making a run in the division, and he probably has an argument already to be the third greatest middleweight of all time. I think Weidman probably holds that spot right now, and I'm a Weidman fan, but Dricus is putting things together, and he has a big argument. Now, Izzy and Anderson Silva are very, they really separated themselves from everybody else, so we have to see, but this Dricus title run, if he gets through Khamzat, I don't know who they throw at him that'll beat him. But that is a major if, and we have that to look forward to. All in all, main event, Dricus looked very good, but it was disappointing because Sean looked terrible. That was the worst performance he has probably had in a long, long time. Co-main event, I called this one, not to toot my own horn or anything, but I just didn't. Tatiana Suarez, yes, the wrestling is great, but I think people's opinion on that fight was a little bit skewed because we saw Tatiana Suarez come on the scene in 2016, and if you watched women's MMA in 2016, it was so different. Over the last 9 years, it has evolved drastically. There was really no wrestling in women's MMA around that time. Girls were constantly trying judo throws and head and arm throws. The level of wrestling was so minuscule at that time. So when we saw Tatiana Suarez, it was oh my God, female Habib, this and that. In 2024, Zhang Weili has elevated her whole game, but she is an all-around fighter. She has very good wrestling, as we saw, amazing on the feet, just a complete mixed martial artist. And she worked Tatiana Suarez. Tatiana Suarez probably won that first round, but from then on out, Zhang shut her out, and it was not even close. She beat her from pillar to post, and that's what I saw happening. And unfortunately, I had to take into account Tatiana's health. Like, she's probably going to be one of the bigger what ifs in MMA because she should have been at this point so much sooner, years and years ago. But because of all of the health implications and things she's had in her life, you had to wonder going into this fight, how healthy is she really at 34 years of age, all the things she's been through. Yes, on paper she's talented and she has this great skill set, but the game has evolved a lot, and how healthy is she? And when I weighed those things out, I was just like, I don't picture her beating Weili at this point. I think Weili is great, and she is peaking right now, clearly, and she dominated her. And I think from here, I think you got to do Shevchenko versus Weili. That's what I want to see. There were some other fun fights on this card. Justin Tafa got knocked out. The Cody Steele and Ronzu, I think. That fight was awesome. They did the Max Holloway in the last 10 seconds. Jake Matthews looked good. Yeah, this card overall was very weak, but the top two fights on paper were pretty good. Disappointing in the end, though. Both were very one-sided. Zhang looked great, and Dricus looked great, but I thought Strickland would do a lot better. Let me know what you guys thought about that fight. Where does Strickland go for here? I think they might do Strickland versus Izzy. The obvious next fight is Hamzat versus DDP. That has to get done ASAP. Let me know what you guys think about everything from this card. Like, comment, and subscribe for me, and that is all I got for you.